Good. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Frank Analysis. I'm your host, Franco. Sorry about that. There was some connection issues going on with StreamYard earlier, but regardless, we were able to do it. We're streaming onto YouTube. I'll be able to chop this up and then upload this to Rockfin later. And we have a lovely guest here, Skye Daddy. Thank you very much for being here. How are you?
I'm doing great. It was a very eventful beginning, but I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So your name is Skye Daddy. Where did that come from? Why do you call yourself Skye?
I was smoking and I was thinking of a funny name and I was sky high. So you know what? I was just like Sky Daddy. That's the origin. I was just high. A lot of my tweets, the origin, just being high.
I thought it was also like a play on like how when people make fun of like religious people, like, oh, like you're calling to your sky daddy and
Sky
all that
Daddy.
type of.
Yeah. I used to be an atheist and I definitely used to call it Sky Daddy. So I definitely think there was subconscious origins there for
Mhm.
real. But yeah.
So are you not an atheist anymore, or how did that journey go?
Yeah, I'm not, I wouldn't call myself atheist at all. I'm a very spiritual person. I wouldn't call myself a religious person, though I think there's truth in theology, just not, the way that most people interpret it. But yeah, it's funny, the way I stopped being an atheist was I remember when Hillary Clinton and some other influential people were doing spirit cooking with that Maria Abrovich person or whatever. And they were doing that of, the blood dinners and the rituals and all that stuff. And it was like really a big thing back then. And then I was like, are rich people just bored? Or is there something to ritual and spirituality and energy? And for some, they're just bored. They're just bored doing weird stuff. But then I'm like, you know what? The people who hold power, even the figureheads, they get there for a reason. So I kind of
Hmm.
start looking into that. So once I start looking into like rituals and occultic type stuff, and that's when I kind of my atheism eventually dispersed as I got more into that. I'm like, oh shit,
Yeah,
there's something going on.
they have their spiritual advisors. Reagan had a
Mhm.
spiritual advisor. Bill Clinton, I believe it was Reagan's spiritual advisor who wrote a book called The Aquarian Conspiracy. And I discussed that with Caleb Maupin on, and a lot of the stuff that they were discussing in that book was really similar to the Great Reset. It wouldn't surprise me if like Klaus Schwab also has like a spiritual advisor, and why they think like now is like the right time to try to initiate the Great Reset and all that.
For sure. And you see like the things that he wears and, the horns, what some people call the Baphomet head, and stuff of that nature. So obviously, I mean, CERN, when they were, opening their little tunnel and whatever the fuck it was, they were doing all these weird rituals and stuff from Eastern mythology. So, I mean, it's just very obvious that spirituality and occultism plays a very big theme in their lives. So after I kind of saw that pattern, I just kind of got over myself and said, do I really think all these people who are very powerful are doing this for fun? Do I really think they're that stupid? And then I said no. So I really think people should look further into that.
Yeah, when you go into, if you ever go to DC, if you look at the statues, a lot of them are doing like symbolic. They're doing like symbolism, like from it looks
Mm-hmm.
like witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
And in front of the OAE building, there's a statue representing North America, and it looks like she's on the attack. She's holding a sword, and she has a child behind her, and the child looks like they're safe, and and then in the South American statue, the lady is holding like a torch, and she looks more like she's in defensive mode. I mean, this is
Mm-hmm.
some scary shit. What the heck are they trying to like? They did this like what? When was that building made? Like a long time ago. Well, probably over 100 years ago. So they know some shit that we don't.
Yeah, clearly, clearly. I mean, the patterns. I mean, just looking at the Georgia Guidestones and of that nature, like why are these, monuments holding such, revere? And there's just little trinkets everywhere.
Yeah. I never really went through an atheist phase. I went from like real kind of religious to just believing there's something higher to just being spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I view God is not the same way that I used to. It was like more so now. It's like if we take God literally for what he is described to be, like in ancient scripture, infinity. Like that's beyond our comprehension. Like it means like literally everything and nothing at the same time. I don't know if that's also how you view it, but I mean, what call it whatever, like reality, the universe, God.
Yeah, exactly. I think humans, we like to personify. We like to make everything out like us and give things human characteristics. So that's what we did with the concept of God. But I think it, like you said, our minds are just trying to simplify it, and it's too hard to comprehend and fathom or even verbalize. But yes, like it's everything. I believe it's also like the universe is somewhat algorithmic as well. I think people kind of look at that too cold, so
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where a lot of people, think a lot of atheists looked into more occult studies and like alchemy and things of that nature and actual astrology and not like the corporate sun sign astrology. They would see a lot more patterns and logic where in religion, most people who are religious or spiritual, they really don't speak about the left brain nature of it, like the macrocosm and the microcosm and the Fibonacci sequence of kind of how everything in nature kind of follows a mathematical pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of atheists, they looked into that. They would kind of not be as so disenchanted by spirituality or religion.
Yeah. So has are your current views on like spirituality, is that what influenced you to be like outspoken against like mandates and on being skeptical about politicians and all that? How does that play in?
Yeah, I think it definitely had a big thing. I guess because I kind of figured out spirituality through politicians. Like I was an atheist before I was, looking at people who are very influential. So I think it definitely is very intertwined. I don't really talk about spirituality that much at all. I find it such a sacred part of my life, but I'm so lazy when it comes to explaining things. Like even if you see me online, like obviously I roast, I troll. There's sometimes I'll do threads and I'll actually like explain things, but I will say when it comes to expressing my views in my intellectualism, I sometimes very much choose trolling and roasting over actually explaining and teaching. So that's why I don't even talk about spirituality
Yeah.
because I don't really have anything to roast anyone over that. But yeah, I actually keep that pretty separate in the way I present it, but it's very actually intertwined.
It's more funny that way, trolling and just pointing out the hypocrisy is easier for people to understand and to realize
Yeah.
like how these people are self-contradicting themselves. Like they're like a lot of the liberals are like my body my choice, but then that's not the case when it comes to vaccines, and they do that just because it's their team that's saying that. And it was Steve Poikonen that pointed this out to me when I had him on as a guest a long time ago. It was one of his first times on, and he said, I think that it's just a lot of a lot of liberals who tend to be atheists have transferred that energy that they had for religion onto politicians, and they see them as these saints, or they see it's like pretty orthodox. I don't know if you would agree with it
Oh,
or
100%. I think humans are just worshiping little motherfuckers. I think we always did. We worship the sun, we worship statues, we worship animals. Like in every culture, every history, we were worshiping something. Now it's just people worshiping football teams and, structured
um,
religions and science. And it's always, we were always going to worship something. And that's why I kind of changed my mind on religion and how detrimental it was because I mean, looking at people in their religious shackles, I don't see it any worse than modern wise, because we know the Christian Crusades. But the modern religion shackles to me seem less dangerous than the trust of science shackles at this point. Again, modern religion in Western America, not what people do for religion elsewhere. So I definitely think that. But I think until people worship them, I don't want to say themselves, but a higher being and have a personal relationship with it from within, then they'll stop the little worshiping behavior. But most people just need it. They need an idol. They need something to believe in.
hmm. It must have evolved for a reason in people, like in humans. We're social beings. Maybe some of us really needed like that alpha or someone to help guide us to a certain direction, because maybe there's someone in that population that just sees things more than other people in the population.
Yeah,
But we at the same time we also have evolved like critical thinking and stuff, so we have to question authority, because how do you know you're not going to be like being led down the wrong path that could kill you for
exactly.
the person that's leading his own gain, right?
Exactly.
uh So, what do you think is a solution to get people to think more critically?
Mm.
I know it's a big question, but I think pointing out the hypocrisy, like how you do, is like one way. But
I
I
think it
mean,
is. I just think most of us are catalysts because when you point out the hypocrisy, this is how I'm a useful idiot. And I figured it out because anyone on the platform is a useful idiot. I'm like, you know what? My algorithm doing pretty well for someone who's speaking about what I'm speaking on. So there's multiple reasons that I think I'm a useful idiot. But the one I'm going to talk about is I reinforce cultist beliefs. When someone offends you and triggers you, especially in the way that I do, like in being a bitch, you're going to do one or two things. You're either a very objective person and you're like, hey, I am being a hypocrite, which is was way easier to do when someone's being nicer and not being a condescending cunt. Sorry, guys. Or they're going to hold on to that belief. That's what most people are going to do.
mm,
They're going to hold on to it. They don't want to feel stupid. They don't want to feel demeaned. For some reason, they gave me such power to where my words mean so much to them that even if I'm saying something truthful, that they don't want to actually admit to themselves that this opinion might be right, because then I think they're stupid and that matters to them. So they just hold on to that beliefs. So most people just reinforce their beliefs when met with the truth in such a harsh way, or even the truth in a nice way. So I mean, really, I think the people who actually let other people pierce their hypocrisy, that was a strong mind and they were going to come to it anyway. Like, I don't think most people can
mm.
take credit for that because you're just a strong person. It's really hard to be objective and be like, you know what, this is where I was inconsistent. So
They think that their reputation is on the line if they have to admit that they're wrong. But what a lot of people don't realize is if you admit you were wrong and you show evidence for why you were wrong, then I mean that shows more character. But I guess a lot of people just aren't asking enough questions, and they're too reactionary. They don't want to look deeper into what they're believing. Um, so it's just unfortunate to see that we're not there yet. But I do see like a lot of people becoming more critical thinking of themselves. Like for me, I'm willing to admit that I was mistaken when I was supporting Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard. Um, Politicians are not going to save us. And there was that it took me seeing other perspectives from other people, willing to talk to them, and to see things that I didn't really see before. Like look at their voting record, look at how they're supporting all this legislation that's written by these lobbyists. So it's just a matter of the right opportunities happening to some people. So what opportunities came to you in your life that made you see like through like politicians and how electoral politics is not really like the way forward?
I think, well, one, my life, um, as a teenager, I was lucky enough to live in Japan. I was a military brat. So I
Mm.
was able to live in Japan and I was living off base and I had that experience. And then when I moved back to the States, probably in my adolescence, I ended up being homeless. But before that, I was still like in lower class areas. So when you're homeless, and I remember Obama came in and, change, change, change.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking for change. I'm like, well, maybe I'll find a place to stay. Things will get, and there'll be better services, from the state that they're offering or whatever. And there was no change. So for me, I never kind of developed hope in politicians for that to like break for me. But then I joined the military to escape homelessness. And seeing what I saw in there, I was an air traffic controller. So I worked with CDC and there was a drone program, and seeing things in there made me realize that that's full of shit. And I'm not a fucking whistleblower because I see how people treat them. But I was able to see that everything's a lie, especially what they tell you about the military and what's going on the news. So that was in there. Then I got sick in the military after the anthrax vax, and everyone was hiding it. And then I started talking to other people, and we all started talking about how we all took that vax, and
Mm.
we got sick soon afterwards. And there was also a series of different vaccines. Everyone was getting sick from a whole bunch of different shit. So then I started realizing about Western medicine and going through all these situations that came. I just realized everything was a lie. Big pharma is the fucking devil. If you're a government employee, you're signing your life away to be a lab rat. And I mean, it's just all bullshit. I would say when Trump came in, I was wondering like maybe perhaps there's another sect of power that wants to shake shit up for a second. But as soon as this man picked his cabinet, that hope was very much extinguished. Like, how are you going to drain the swamp and then fucking makes the most corporate fucking cabinet? What the fuck, whatever. And so after that happened, it was very fucking obvious. I didn't have to go to Operation Warp Speed. Also, he was just constantly race baiting, just like every other politician. So, I mean, I just kind of always knew it was bullshit. I was just complacent from my
Mm.
own immediate problems. But when it became like, oh shit, I probably should worry about this and what's going to happen, didn't come until like I started understanding my injuries from Big Pharma and the lies behind it.
Okay. So your political realization came around the same time as your big pharma realization. Like it was all tied during the. It was all tied together.
Yeah.
Um, that's yeah. Uh, they don't teach people about holistic medication or any of that. They want us to be dependent on big pharma, and that was Bernie's big thing, talking about Medicare for all and all that. But he like for some reason now like he's pushing for big pharma for the when it comes to the vaccines, when it comes to the treatments that they want, because they're going to profit off of that. But we don't see that level of critical thinking anymore in the left. It's really unfortunate to see.
Yeah.
Um, but how do we get the message out more about holistic medication? Because I know that it's a big thing for you. It's helped you out in your condition. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh yeah. I mean, it saved my life. I was lucky enough to come across brilliant people. One person was Andy Cutler, Ivy League school chemist, and he worked with how to detox metals out of people and their systems. And someone who and Andy, Andrew Mortiz. And there's a lot of other holistic doctors who I just read up on when Google wasn't so damn controlled. Even DuckDuckGo,
Mm-hmm.
everything is buried now. There used to be so much more first count holistic health literature and a first count experience where you can take other people's protocols and kind of help yourself with it. And there used to be a lot more groups on Facebook allowed, and they got rid of that stuff that promoted holistic health, and you can talk to other doctors and for free, or you can be hooked up with doctors for discounts. And there's just a way bigger network for holistic health. Um, so I mean, for me, I know it's true. It's crazy being constantly gaslighted. People are like, oh, these crazy things. Like I was gonna die. Like they literally said I was gonna die. I wasn't supposed to make it to 31. My kidneys were supposed to go in my late 20s. And I still have plenty of problems. Like even now, like in the last couple of weeks, it's kind of been getting worse and I have flares and my skin still breaks out and gets scarring. And I had to get surgery for my scars. And, I work a very physical job and it's way too physical for someone who has my conditions, but I have to live. So, I mean, it's still really hard. But if I just kept taking the medicines that they were giving me, one, I was going to be mentally insane because sorry, all that smoking, the mental side effects were horrible. And it was literally killing me, like cortisol, and immunosuppressants. There's no way you're going to have a life taking those things. And that's what they give you when you have autoimmune disease or specifically lupus. I don't know the other treatments for other ones. So, I mean, it's crazy living in a society where people are really gaslighting you, telling you, oh, well, this is right for you. This is right for you. This didn't happen. No, this is a lie. Like, bitch, I'm alive. Um, but with holistic medicine, I have no idea how they are worse about that than they are about talking about vaccines. Like on IG, you can't say
Mm-hmm.
anything about holistic medicine. They'll take your account out. I mean,
I
it's
didn't know
really,
about that. It's
oh,
crazy.
yeah, they are really like if you suggest Twitter's not even as bad as IG about holistic medicine. So I really don't. That's why I really mostly don't talk about it. I'm like, dude, there's not. There's once that they're gonna get the fucking rid of you. I wish we can like start groups and things of that nature, but people are very reluctant to get off the platform they're on and form communities because I really think holistic groups. But again, finding a platform that will allow that these days are not very easy. But it's crazy how the left is like, oh, free culture and anti-colonization, but people who practice, medicine
Thousands
that's
of years of medicine, right?
exactly, and they don't like corporate medicine, they're so fucking horrible. Like it's so crazy. One thing I don't do is like run from being called an anti-vaxxer or anything of that nature. Like people like, I just don't like this vaccine. No, I don't like any vaccines. Like that's good for you, but no one's gonna like shame me. And I'm like, well, you took vaccines before. Like my mom gave me that shit and a lot of other shit that I wouldn't give myself, which is
Yeah.
crazy because our family history, the people in our family
Yeah.
was not taking that shit. They were talking about holistic health and eat this, eat that. And I don't know what happened in the last generation where all of a sudden they stopped doing that or they got brainwashed. But
Yeah.
what my grandma got the booster and everything. But she was, when growing up, it was all like holistic stuff. And I'm like, what happened? Like, and then I look at the news and she's always watching CNN and I'm like, fucking CNN happened. And it's just crazy. Just the brainwashing of people really are like, you
It's
have to,
really powerful.
it is.
Oh my god.
We live in a place where people think you have to take pharmaceutical to live. Like they don't think that it's a regular life, like Tylenol or cough syrup. I haven't taken drugs or pharmaceuticals in the last 6, 7 years. Not Tylenol, not an aspirin, nothing. Hurt shoulders. My shoulders completely, like my labrum was kind of messed up. And I think 2.5 years ago, I was in a boxing accident. I shouldn't have been fucking boxing that hard. But I was sparring and I did a right hook because I was full of adrenaline. It was a sloppy shot. Good hit though. Good
Mm.
hit. Fighting someone way out my skill level, but completely threw my right shoulder out. No aspirin, no any of that. I'm not, everyone's not for that. So I don't really know how we normalize a world that literally think it's weird to go through your life and not take pharmaceuticals for the most part.
Yeah. I mean that humans have dealt with that stuff for thousands of years, like without needing like pain relief medication, like Tylenol and ibuprofen. Like we didn't need that. And now that I'm thinking about it, it doesn't really surprise me that Instagram and maybe pretty soon YouTube and other places will go after posts or information about holistic medication because that will put big pharma out of business.
Oh
That's
yeah.
how we take power away from them. Um, there's like and I have a book on holistic dieting and how that can help people with autoimmune diseases. It's backed up by scientific evidence. There's like the like the at the back of the book, like there's pages and pages of all the cited sources.
Yeah.
But they don't want us to know all that. Same thing with everything coming out now about natural immunity, about how the vaccine can cause things like myocarditis, how it's affecting women's menstrual cycles. I mean, and all that is connected to like autoimmune diseases as well. Like James Lyons Weiler, PhD, who I've had on the show, talked about how these vaccines could cause autoimmune diseases. And how the thing about that too is like, how are we going to trace it back though? Like, there's all these things in our environment now that can
Yeah.
cause autoimmune diseases, like our
Mm-hmm.
food, all the stuff that they put in all this processed food. It's really hard to escape it, especially when you live in a poor community. And then once you get an autoimmune disease, you're dependent on big pharma. Like they're literally trying to kill us. And it's not like, oh, like advancing technology. I can get why some people think that taking medication from big pharma or treatments from big pharma is like a good thing because they have this idea of like advanced technology. But the problem with it now is not advanced technology, it's the prioritization of profit over people's health. That's what's really affecting us and poisoning us.
Yeah,
We could
for
move
sure.
in the direction of advanced technology and holistic medication, but we don't currently live in that society right now.
Exactly. I think about that all the time. I try not to, but like where we would be if all the data that was gathered on us was used for the betterment of humanity and not hurting us and domesticating us to little obedient little bitches. Like,
Mm.
God, it would be amazing. The society, the utopia we would live in would be amazing. But apparently that's not our journey, but it's it's crazy. I've been reading about this stuff again for years and years and years. And my brother had acne really bad, and he went to multiple doctors and didn't heal it. And guess who got rid of it?
Mm.
So it's crazy when people try to tell me about health. Like this is a fad for them. They didn't care about health or immunity or any of that stuff until the TV said it was a problem. And I've been reading this for the last 6, 7 years, studying and this stuff and having actual doctors and help me with this stuff. And all of a sudden they're the expert and I'm listening to too many podcasters. I remember having this argument And people go, well, why are you listening to podcasters? And I told this person 1,000 times, I read books, bitch. This had
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with a podcaster. I don't know who they were talking about. I don't know if it was Joe Rogan or whatever. Someone I don't really watch. I've seen a few ones, but he's cool as he's entertaining for what it's
Mm-hmm.
worth. But that's all. But they kept talking about watching certain things. And I'm like, no, I read this.
Yeah.
So it's
It's just
it's
further confirming things that we've read,
yeah,
the
exactly,
podcasters.
exactly.
And if we share it to people, it's because it's just explained easier. And we know that for some people, if we're like, hey, like check out this book, like they're less likely to like look over the whole book and like find the specific piece of information that you're trying to show them. So it's just a lot faster, a lot more convenient to show somebody like a podcast episode talking about the thing that you want to inform them about.
Exactly, exactly. And I would say to everyone watching, go to Yandex, which is a search engine, or DuckDuckGo, which is not as a good search engine, but it's easier to navigate, and looked up holistic doctors, mysterious deaths, and search that a couple pages. And you'll see a
Yeah.
very strong pattern before it goes, because this used to be talked about a lot more. And again, they just keep bearing it more and more and more. The health studies I used to be able to find, like official health studies, it's just everything's harder to find. So do your research as much as you can now, because it's a modern day book burning.
This is all new to me. I had no idea about that. But it doesn't surprise me. Is this only like a problem or mostly a problem in the US and in other countries or
I would say there was definitely other countries a lot more now, but I was more knowledgeable about it happening, around 2017 and on, in the US. But they definitely have been cases of other countries for sure. Holistic doctors, period, have a crazy way of having very mysterious deaths and no one ever figuring out what the fuck happens. It's crazy. A guy I worked with, Andy Cutler, mysterious heart attack, crazy.
wow.
But so a lot of it happens a lot. So I would look that up, guys.
And the demonization of people who promote like holistic medication, a lot of it comes from like the indoctrinated army of people who came from medical schools or pharmacy schools. I mean, they're indoctrinated. They're learning the material that the
I
establishment
know.
wants them to know.
I know. It's just like they're no different than cops. They're just fucking health cops. That's it. Like they're
Oh my God,
everything's
that's a great
trained.
analogy.
Yeah, they're just health cops. They're just working for the ruling class. They're just running interference for the ruling class. Like, I don't give a fuck what they say. People are like, oh, well, smallpox and this study, that study. I literally see them right now in my face running fraud on the numbers. I literally see them manipulating the numbers in my face. I see them lying. If they'll change history that I can see as I'm seeing it, I don't trust the history that I wasn't there for that they said,
Mm.
because I'm not a fucking idiot. So people are just insane with that shit. Like, no, I don't trust all that shit. Whatever they said, or how those pandemic happens and this, that, and shit and other, the same way they lied about this, the same way they lied about the fucking finding the country, the same way they lied about literally every single thing in history. I don't believe the fucking health history either.
Great
Like,
point. Yeah, they're
yeah,
doing it right now with the
I know.
with where they're like, oh look, these people who are fully vaccinated receive both doses. Like they're dying less. I was like, that data is from like January. That was back when there was barely anybody who was vaxxed. And
Exactly.
then they use like PCR tests, which is not reliable. Like even like the creator of the PCR test was talking about how they're using it inappropriately to test for like people who have diseases.
Yep. If
Um,
someone gets vaccinated and they die within 2 weeks of getting vaccinated, they don't count it as a vaccinated death.
Yeah, they don't even count them as fully vaccinated until 14 days after they received the
Exactly.
final dose. So it's like, oh, so how convenient. Like, right, if they die like a couple days or a couple hours after they get their second dose, it doesn't count.
They're unvaccinated death. Exactly. So I mean, like, it's all highly manipulated. So why the fuck would I believe what they did before was righteous? Like they just got fucking horrible. Like the same people who've been killing people for years and fucking doing legal hangings. Like these people are righteous, just people. So I'm sure they were telling the truth. And the Biden administration were the only people who ever lied about these type of things. Crazy.
So the only way we can um, prevent this from exacerbating further is to do what people in countries like France and in the Netherlands. Like I saw that they were protesting earlier today on Press TV. They were covering that. Like we have to rise up and protest against this stuff. I admire what people are doing in New York. It was beautiful for me to see how a group of people who are against these mandates went into a restaurant and they were demanding to be served food. But I'm also I feel for some people who feel like they have no choice
Mhm.
because they have to put food on the table, and they're like, I have a family to feed and my job is forcing me to take it. I'm skeptical about this and this could affect me, but I want to help my family out directly. And they just don't see there being enough numbers of people that are protesting against this for them to, do something. So, what are your thoughts on that?
That's funny because they're mad at me now about that. Today
Mm.
on the timeline, as they always are. But
Uh,
I definitely feel for people who have children, and I definitely think that people who are dependentless, like don't have a parent that they're taking care of or things of that nature, should try to take as most sacrifices as possible. But at the end of the day, it's kind of simple math. If we keep complying, this will keep furthering. No one gives a fuck about how angry you are when you tweet. No one cares about your heart. The government's not like, oh, this person complied, but they're still a rebel. They only did it because they have kids. They don't give a fuck. You're a number who complied. That's just the realistic thing of it. So by complying, you're furthering the chance and you're contributing to the
mhm.
possibility that your kids are going to have to get this shot, are going to have to force to do this. At the end of the day, complying is moving step and step and step further to a society where if you have to get shot up at a certain amount of time on a passport, social credit system to keep living your life. So if you don't want your kid to live that life, if you don't want the next generation to never know a society that doesn't have fucking social credit systems and has to inoculate themselves with a shot, and they will because they don't know any other way. If you want there to be a fucking conscious next generation, there has to be people who don't comply. And everyone who does comply, it doesn't matter what your situation was, you are contributing to that. I'm not saying
Mhm.
I judge you for it. I'm not saying I don't empathize with you for it. It's not that I'm saying I don't understand. I know it's way easier for me to say. I'm just being real because this is who I am. On God, on everything. If I had kids, I'd rather my kids have a rough, hard upbringing than them go into a world and see their fucking mother send them into a world where they have to be the government's little bitch
Right.
to survive. I'd rather them see me struggle. I'd rather them see me get shot dead in the street and know I fought and have
Mhm.
that instilled in them than to fucking see me fucking cower to authoritarian bullshit. That's just the real. Because there's worse things than death. And kids being shot up so they can have to go to fucking school, kids being shot up and being the fucking government and corporation little experimental lab rat, that's worse than death for me.
Yeah.
I'd rather my fucking kid go through a lot of shit than have to fucking live that fucking life. And that's just realistic of it. Because if we keep fucking babying the shit, what I'm saying, and making people feel good in their emotions and their feelings and their choices, we're just going to be just as guilty. All right. I mean, everyone talks about the left being soft and like, oh, we need to, the people who are assimilating are soft, or the people who are supporting mandates are soft. But by complying, you're supporting mandates. There's no other way around it. Again, I understand, but and resisting and standing up is an action. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Speaking out is good, but that doesn't mean you're resisting. You're
Right.
speaking out against mandates, and please keep doing that. We need that.
At the
But
end of the day, that's just talking the talk, right?
exactly, if you're not willing to sacrifice, it doesn't mean shit. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
doesn't mean much at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I do empathize. I'm sorry. Just gotta be real.
Yeah. And if they stand up, if they resist, and that can motivate some other people that they probably didn't know to join them in
Yeah,
protesting against this.
exactly.
Uh, do you think that we'll see more of this? Because I was listening to a conversation that you had with Reed Coverdale, the naturalist capitalist, and I thought that this was an interesting point about how accelerationism is increasing skepticism among people, and the establishment is kind of shooting themselves in the foot. And I agreed with a point that you made also, is like I can't even tell if it's like by design sometimes, if they're planning something like ahead of time, since they're always like a few steps ahead of us, or if this is actual incompetence on their part. Do you think that they have no choice because over winter people would see how useless vaccines are and that's why they are ramping up mandates right now? Or what's your take?
I have no fucking idea. I'm literally like every theory I have, there's an argument against it. Like there's no sound theory for me at this point. I've been calling, if anyone follows me, you'll know I love it to say I told you so. I've been calling everything beautifully, just like most of us have. But I'm literally at a point where I'm like, what are they trying to do? I definitely think they're working off their heels to a degree. Um, there definitely seems to be, you know, testing and then moving back. Um, I really do not know their game plan. One, I think there are definitely like in the vaccines that they're dispensing. I definitely think there's saline, a control group where people aren't all getting the vaccine at once.
Mm.
Remember in the trials where some people were getting saline, but they still counted vaccinated. So that person thinks they're going around getting protected from COVID from the vaccine, but really they're in a control group that gave them saline, but they're still vaccinated. Funny. Anyway, I'm sorry. Um, but I definitely think that they're being careful about the way they dispense the vaccine. I don't think everyone's getting the same substance at once, because I don't think they can just have a mass die off or anything of that nature, or mass symptoms, even though there's a lot of symptoms that's happening. Um, I definitely think they're going to accelerate the food shortage this winter. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to do blackout. There's been a lot of blackout symbolism and the lights going out. I think the BBC put out an article for the UK that assured them, the government side, there definitely won't be a blackout that winter. So good luck to everyone in the UK.
A
But the dark
blackout.
winter, yeah.
I heard in so my wife follows like like astrology, like TikTok, like just comes up for her. And
Mm-hmm.
there were some people that were saying that there's going to be like some kind of solar event or something that's going to cause a blackout. And now I'm putting this together like right now during this conversation, like the dark winter and all that
Mm-hmm.
they've been talking about for a
About the
long
dark
time.
winter.
Is this all connected and they knew that something like this is going to happen?
They've been kind of putting that out there as well. The solar storm they put out there. They also
Yeah.
said during the solar storm, this is what they said, during the solar storm, the internet would go out as well. When the internet comes back on, I guarantee you a lot of information will be gone. But they said the internet could have a mass shutdown for the first time ever. Remember that
Wow.
Obama internet kill switch? Funny
Yeah.
little thing there. But and then they said after the internet comes back on, no, they said that there would be a blackout. And there would be a blackout for a few weeks, and then the internet would stay off for a while. And this, I got to find the article. I'll try and post it or send it to you. But yeah, it's going to be a solar storm, and this is what they're putting out in the media. This is not like a conspiracy. And they said that they're anticipating for there to be a blackout that could be from days to up to a few weeks, and then the internet could stay off for a while, for months.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And
So yeah,
how are
guys.
we all going to communicate with each other? All these online communities, all these independent content creators, people won't be able to get their news. Oh
Yep.
my god, that's horrible.
It's gonna be crazy. And you know they're gonna do shit in the meantime. And then
Oh
there's gonna be
yeah.
there's gonna be a shortage and everything. So they're gonna take advantage of the panic of everywhere. So we'll
And
see how
people
that happens.
will be so afraid that they'll comply with
Exactly.
authority.
Exactly. And they'll probably use it to move in the military. And if they use it to move in the military, they're not going to take them out when everything comes back on, I guarantee you. So that's what they're saying. I don't know if it's this winter. I don't know if it's going to be that dark of a winter, but that's what they're setting up for, saying, guys, look at the solar storm and the internet blackout. Search that shit.
When is this supposed to happen?
They say that it can start happening at the end of this year, but they're preparing for like the beginning of next year, up in January, February. But they said it can start soon. I remember reading it like, where's my time? But I really suggest that
Wow.
everyone buy some water. Everyone buys some food, rice, ammo, board to board up your homes, a bucket and a toilet seat, like, just get ready for worst case scenario, especially if you have kids. But especially if you're not assimilating to mandates, because I have a problem. If this happens, I'm sure that in especially blue states, the people who will get help will not be the unvaccinated. So good luck.
Well, the COVID lockdowns happened. It felt like it happened out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at this point if
I
this
know.
happens out of nowhere.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you can't say if it happens in the winter, we can't say it was nowhere because damn, if they dark winter, they warned us about that dark winter over and over again. Like we have been warned about the dark winter.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm not expecting. It's just that when it happens, it just feels shocking.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like it's
Like if it's
actually,
here.
yeah, it's gonna be crazy. I also, guys, get you a CD player and with batteries and get some CDs so you can vibe through the apocalypse. Because I definitely did that. Because I cannot last without music. I'm like, if I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna be vibing. I got me some 90s hit. I got my apocalypse playlist. I'm about to fucking go ahead, like, but yeah, I'm really like I've already prepared for it. So I mean, at the least, there's gonna be really bad food and water shortage. At the very least. But all the dark symbolism makes me think, and the blackout predictive programming makes me think that some places are blacking out. And remember, Texas already had a blackout for a while because of their grid.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I remember. I think that a lot of us, like for example, like MCSC, like the members, should talk about what like some contingencies, like what do we do when this happens? How can we help organize? As well
Mm-hmm.
as some of the sister channels and other
Mm-hmm.
journalists, like what can we do to help without help the momentum that we have right now in informing people and then also leading direct action events and community organizing,
Yeah,
because
but
it's
that's what
going to
I'm.
suck if there's no communication.
Oh yeah, for sure. I wonder if satellite phones are going to work, but obviously the average person is not going to have access to that. They're like $1,000 for a decent one. I'm like, damn, am I going to buy? Because if I buy a satellite phone, so people who have that money are the money to spare, and $1,000 for a satellite phone, because that's the only way that people are going to be communicating, which is crazy because it just shows them if you have money, even in the blackout, you can have generators, you can have a fucking satellite phone, you have better preparation for food because even if it costs more money, you'll be able to get to it, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy. Also, look for farmers market, look for co-ops in your area. If you have a farmers market, go to where they're at and know those people, learn those people. So when they lock down, if something happens in your area and they lock down, you can talk to them directly. Like I have a relationship with my farmers. I don't get my food from the grocery store. There's very few things I get from the grocery store. I try to get everything from a farmers market or farmers. So try to find them, create a relationship, ask questions, find common ground. Most people who have small farms are very anti new normal. So that's really it's really easy to connect with those people. You're not going to find organic farmers who, it's really hard to find people who are with that on that agenda. So
If
just
we
try
look
and
at
prepare.
the yeah, if we look at the wayback machine, like I don't know if you're familiar with that, but if people aren't familiar with the wayback machine, it's a website where you can just put a web page and see how it looked like in the past. You see
Mm-hmm.
how pages like the CDC and the World Health Organization or other governmental website, how they change things over time, and it's like they
Wow.
contradict themselves.
Yeah, all the time. Even Western medicine, if you read enough Western medicine, which is this is insane to me. Like doctors, I really don't think very much of them. Most of them are idiots. If you read the anatomy books, I had to read anatomy books in my career because I'm in health. They contradict themselves. It doesn't. That doesn't even make sense. Like for the liver, what it does is it literally fucking cleates out and detoxes out unnatural chemicals. So to put toxic chemicals constantly in our body, and it does not help the fucking liver detox any faster. Like Western medicine is literally a joke. Like once you read those books and you learn basic anatomy, Western medicine is so counterintuitive. Like, and it just becomes more counterintuitive as time go on. But the original, and Rockefeller was the one who popularized and modernized fucking Western medicine anyway. Like,
Yeah.
this is not a fuck. Look this up, guys.
Yep.
Look up how modern medicine came to be in the
Hmm.
West. It's literally fucking Rockefeller, and we literally put our whole system around this shit. Mental health, right? Our mental health system. So I think they said the DSM-5, which is what our mental health system is based around, right? Almost 75% of people who wrote that book had ties to the drugs that were being sold from that book. 75% are what our mental health is around. Like, it's all a joke. It's a big ass joke. And once you just like accept that, you start compartmentalizing like one agenda, like defund the police. I started hearing politicians say defund the police, defund the police. I was like, wait, why are we saying the same thing? Because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, I know one truth to be true. If you hear politicians repeating something, it's not for your best interest, you know? So I think
Absolutely.
anytime you see something pushed in the media, question it, even if it's something that goes with your bias.
Yeah. Once you see like AOC and those people start pushing for something, that's when you really should start questioning what it is that you're pushing for right now.
I
Like, for
know.
example, the Medicare for All bill, which was written by freaking lobbyists. Like, we went over that with Ali Alexandra and Seb Solomon, how like they're gonna have what's it called, like it's there's going to be conditions like for who gets it and all that, and how they determine like who's likely to be deserving of certain care. And that's because they see us as investments, they see us as capital.
Exactly.
We're not going to get any progress done via legislation until we actually dismantle the ruling class, because that's who is writing our legislation right now, all these lobbyists.
And it sounds so logical when you hear it, but when you say it to people and they have that little dumbass fluoride stare on their face, it's like, why is this so hard to
And they want to
understand?
have hope, I think.
Yeah. But they should. I'm not telling people not to have hope, but have
But it
hope
has to be
in
realistic.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like having hope in the government is just fucking stupid. Like even saying it, I just don't. Uh, good luck to us all, man. Good luck to us
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, in Steve's words. Oh God. Uh, so do you have any? Some things I wanted to point out about the vaccines before we finish off here. I want to let people know again, and we've covered this on this show with evidence, how they wane off after a couple months. They're not telling us that, and that's what like textbooks and the mainstream media, they leave out information that's important for people to know, like this, like the vaccines, how they wane off after a couple months, how this is designed off of natural immunity, and natural immunity protects you more than these vaccines. Natural immunity is going to protect people from way more variants than the vaccines, which are only currently protecting people from, supposedly, from the alpha variant. They're not going to tell you that.
Yeah, they don't understand like what happens when you introduce antibodies, foreign antibodies, when you already have your own. Like anytime you put something, like if you take testosterone, your natural testosterone is going to decrease. And if people don't understand that you cannot put anything in your body without having a equal opposite reaction. So just putting these vaccines in all willy-nilly, like it's like what they're doing is they have a gun and this gun can kill a whole bunch of things. And then you're putting in some guns that can only kill one thing and one variant. All right. So now you're literally just downgrading your immune system. It's going to be fucking chaos.
Yeah.
It's going to be fucking chaos.
People should look up antibody dependent
And
enhancement,
yes,
right? And
antibody dependent enhancement.
that'll also lead to autoimmune diseases. But it pretty much it's like a Trojan horse. Like
Yeah.
like the viruses can cloak themselves and your bodies won't recognize it, and that's what the vaccine is increasing your risks for having.
Yeah.
So Skye, you want to leave the audience with any final messages, and also like any like book recommendation or source recommendations for people?
I probably should ready some of those so I don't have any of those. But um yeah, here's my recommendation. Buckle up for the dark winter. Um
Mm.
Understand that nothing's going if you're not going to sacrifice, dude, just enjoy the freedom you have left. Seriously, there's no point in stressing yourself out if you're not going to resist anyway. Like literally go sit with yourself breathe, draw your line, and don't worry about anything else because it doesn't fucking matter. It's just mental masturbation after that. Vibe, bro, and vibe. Anything that's going to happen is going to happen. Like, I know I would be serious online, but I'm always vibing. I'm like, I never stay in a bad mood. I never let this shit get me fucking down. Like, my body attacks itself every fucking other month, man, and I'm still vibing. Like, don't let this shit get you down.
Yeah.
And just love the people you're around. Have fun, do what you love, and again, just prepare as much as possible and fuck the rest.
Yeah, awesome words, Guy. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Awesome.
And
I enjoyed it.
yeah, same. And everybody else, stay informed. All right, awesome. That was great.